Coming up on FTC Top 25, it's time to recognize teams voted on by the community in February. As we're starting to get closer to the end of qualifying for Worlds and Premier events, there are going to be some amazing teams to recognize. We'll count down the top 25 list, detail our personal snubs of the month, along with top 50 team shoutouts, give some insights into these teams, and more. So let's get ready for the FTC Top 25.
This video on fun is brought to you by viewers like you and also in partnership with the following. Studica Robotics is inspiring teams to build better robots with their new array of FTC team options. Check out their updated bevel gears and Maverick hex shaft motors, Planetary gearbox options, and 6mm hex components and shafts for extreme power transmission. Go to Studica.com/robots to learn more and apply for discounts. True competitors know that every second counts. That's why Kettering University challenges you to dive in right away as a first-year student. Participating in robotics programs helps Kettering students secure a valuable co-op. Whatever your interests, Kettering gives you more space to work faster and win faster. Learn more at kettering.edu/first.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FTC Top 25, where we reveal the top 25 teams you voted for. From Fun FTC, I'm Abbas, and joining me tonight are Anthony, Saket, and our producer behind the scenes, Tyler. We're really excited to have you all tonight and for so many of you to participate in voting for our FTC Top 25. We also want to give a shout out to FTC Scout for providing some of the data. Tonight, we're going to count down the list of the top 25 teams who have had an official competition in the DECODE season based on your community votes. We'll also take a couple breaks to detail our snubs and give a few top 50 shoutouts. So before I jump into our list, I think I first want to take a moment to discuss the inaugural United States Governors Cup, which was this past weekend. I was there game announcing, filming some content. We just put out a fantastic interview with 23521 DeSoto Technics, and we're going to have another one with the Winning Alliance captain, Silverwolves, coming out soon. So it was just really, really exciting. The energy was super great. It was fantastic seeing like these teams from all around the U.S., meeting so early in the season. I think it was fantastic. Saket, did you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool event to see like one from each state. And obviously it was, I think, a great opportunity for teams from different regions to play against each other. And otherwise there's not really a lot of opportunities before Worlds. So I thought it was a good preview for how different bots from different regions would interact with each other.
100%. Anthony, what about yourself?
Yeah, I feel like it was a really kind of cool event, not just because it's kind of trying to help find or at least to my understanding, it was the governor can help find the best team from the state or the one they think best represents the state. So it's really cool to kind of see which teams that were chosen and then kind of seeing how they competed to kind of see in the end, right, which states came out on top. But it was a really good, fun competition to watch, and it was nail-biting all through semis and finals. It was crazy to watch, but it was a lot of fun. So.
For sure, yeah. I think especially the playoffs were just like really, really strong matches. So great preview for Worlds. All right, I think with that, we'll get started with our February top 25. So our number 25 team is team 15996 Brickbot from Romania. They were Anthony's top 50 shoutout last month, and it looks like for very good reason. This past weekend, they competed at the Romania East League tournament, making a deep playoffs run with 2 scores above 390 points non-penalty, 21st teleop, and top 30 OPR in the world. They have a pass-through turretless robot design, but this doesn't slow them down whatsoever. In this match on the screen, we see them nail a bunch of shots from the far zone during autonomous right now, and then in a couple seconds, we'll see them go to the close zone for teleop, just really demonstrating their versatility. They remind me a lot of Leviathan Robotics, which we'll talk about later tonight, but I think their biggest strength is their super fast transfer. They're able to release all 3 artifacts in just very easily under 300 milliseconds, maybe even 200 milliseconds. It's just super, super strong. We'll see Brickbot next at the Romania National Championship in mid-March, so I just can't wait to see what they do in a couple of weeks. Yeah, Anthony, I know you've talked a lot about Leviathan. What do you think of Brickbot?
I think Brickbot is really they're really good up there. I mean, seeing how fast their chassis is another thing. Is something that really stands out to me, is just how insanely fast and small that chassis is. I think that's something that really helps them to stand out in this, to really help them to kind of show that, turrets aren't always going to be the best. So and this is one of the teams that shows that.
Yeah, we'll go back and forth on this a bunch tonight, but why don't you tell us about number 24, Anthony?
Yeah, and at the 24th spot, we have team 23213 Open Source from Willis, Texas. With an OPR of 162.28, They are number 17 in the world. With them being the winning alliance pick at the Texas Houston Championship, they punched their ticket to Worlds. Their colorful robot with their short wheelbase allows for them to have an intake the entire width of the robot. This really allows for them to do well and grab the artifacts and shoot them up into the goal with their quick turret. They choose to pair this with an active intake, giving them the perfect combination to score quickly. Now that they made it to Worlds, I'm curious where they will change things between now and then. Some sort of parking mechanism, I believe, would help set them apart from everyone else. But whatever it may be, I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think open source, like even last year, they had that super wide robot, and it was totally to their advantage at the Texas Houston Championship and all the way going to Worlds. So, I think they've done really well keeping to their strengths this season as well. Socket, let's hear about number 23.
Moving on to 23rd in our rankings is team 20871 Eureka from Mumbai, India, with one of the fastest, if not the fastest, robot I think we've seen this season. Their quick robot is able to zip around the field and intake artifacts at a pace unlike any other, right from auto and throughout Telyop in the close zone, especially due to being one of the first teams with a dual-sided intake. They recently dominated their competition as they came out of the India National Championship as the winning alliance captain, and I think more importantly, as the first seed after qualification matches and an average of 5.67 ranking points. This is one of the highest in the world and even more impressive at our regional championship where the ranking point thresholds are higher. One thing that sets Eureka apart from others and allows them to achieve this level of success was the strategy they implement in qualification matches, sorting artifacts with only 20 seconds left in the match by feeding from different sides of their dual-sided intake without sacrificing their rapid-fire intel yelp. I really can't wait to see what further upgrades they come up with for the World Championships to this already amazing robot.
Yeah, I mean, Eureka was finalist alliance last year at Worlds, so very strong, demonstrated history of success there. I think Park or level 2 Park is pretty much the only thing you would look to add to this kind of robot. So we'll see what they do in about a month and a half. Yeah. In 22nd, we have Team 18389 MP Servers from Georgia. This past weekend, they ended as the finalist alliance first team selected at the Georgia Championship, the top 50 OPR and 21st in auto. Their dual side spinning wheels completely cancel out any spin on the artifacts, and this just completely eliminates bounce outs. Another turretless robot, it looks to me like they have some automation for turning to face the goal as they just snap into place every single cycle. And I think that's just one of the reasons they're able to be so strong as a robot without a turret. NP Servers has qualified for some premier events, so I'm interested to see if they maintain the shooter design for the offseason. Socket, what's your take on the turretless robot design?
I think it has high potential, and it highly depends. I think we've seen it time and time again with all the turretless robots on basically how fast they're able to angle themselves to face the goal. And it seems like they've really gotten this down, and it doesn't seem to be slowing them down that much. So I do think that we will be seeing some high-level turretless robots at Worlds as well.
Awesome. Anthony, let's go on to number 21.
At 21, we have Team 23511 Seattle Solvers from Sammamish, Washington. I'm sure many of us are familiar with them. Their yellow bot and Swerve that they've done many videos on. This is a bot I want to talk about with the strategy. Swerve is something many people think is a red herring, but Seattle Solvers is a team that shows otherwise. They're able to handle the defense and can zoom around it with their instant acceleration in any direction. Their shooter that shoots straighter rather than an arc tends to be very accurate, and they're able to hit their shots and accelerate away quickly and do whatever they need to be able to score. I'm excited to see what this new bot will look like and what changes they're going to make into the World Championship.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Socket, you can speak best about the Solvers for many of us here, but talking about Swerve in general, how many teams do you think we'll see running Swerve in playoffs? Like, do you think 1 out of every 3, 1 out of every 4, higher, lower? What do you think?
I think, especially with a lot of the earlier regions with teams that have kind of gone off the spotlight, like Theseus or Blue Bot Builders, I think there's a strong chance that some of those Australian teams will be coming with Swerve drives, and I do think that it is definitely possible that they'll be able to pull it off, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Swerve win the World Championships this year.
Awesome, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's start off our top 20, Socket.
So at 20th, we have one of the teams that we've seen throughout the season on top 25, Team 21171, It Can Lunar from Plano, Texas. They're currently 5th in the world by OPR, a record they set all the way back in November, and seems to have shown their dominance in DECODE right from the get-go. Igcan Lunar's wide intake enables them to have extremely fast cycles while intaking from the gate or secret tunnel, and when combined with their consistent fire rate shooter, I think they're a really strong team, and we need to keep an eye on them for the North Texas Regional Championship coming up this weekend. Something specifically I'm looking forward to seeing is their far zone shooting, as they've proven themselves to be a strong close zone team, but in recent competitions, they've also looked like they're experimenting with shooting from further away, which I think will really help take their performance to the next level in qualification matches.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think Ictan Lunar, every season they do a really good job at being super, super strong early season and just like punching a very early ticket to their Texas North Regional Championship. So I'm interested to see, what they show up with this time and if they can maintain that like consistency. Looking at number 19, we have team 3565 Ghost Robotics from Massachusetts. They competed 2 weekends ago, going 5-0 and then sweeping playoffs to hold the top 3 scores in Massachusetts. Currently ranked 11th in the world by OPR and 7th by Tally-Up OPR, a combination of super fast transferring, lights out close shooting, and just smooth driving all contribute to those high scores. I think looking forward to the Massachusetts Championship, they definitely want to maintain the consistency that we see on screen here with those close cycles, but they want to solidify their far shooting ability to guarantee compatibility with partners throughout qualifications. Anthony, with teams like these that don't necessarily have like a Spindex or anything like that, do you see them going for those like full 9 purple artifacts in the classifier in endgame at states, or do you think they're just going to continue shooting and shooting?
I think early on, at least during qualification matches in state competitions, them either trying to intake properly those artifacts to be able to hit the motif bonus, or as you said, depending on how they end up in auto and how full the ramp is and what that motif pattern looks like, they could just go for all purples. And I've seen a lot of teams do that because you get guaranteed 6. So pair that with you get a few in auto, and that can be that ranking point. So at least for now, in state competitions, I could see teams doing that, but we'll have to see whenever it comes to Worlds if they up that and how much it is.
Yeah, I bring that up specifically for Ghost Robotics because I think Massachusetts is a region that has a pretty high floor generally. And so like I don't think it's unreasonable to think like, Ghost Robotics, Arc Lightning, maybe Wolfpack, all these strong teams will go like 5-0 or 6-0 in qualifications, and then it really comes down to those pattern ranking points, right? Because the artifact ranking points should be like pretty guaranteed for most teams at that level. All right, let's hear about number 18, Anthony.
All right, at number 18, we have team 16917 Gear Wizards from Otsego, Minnesota. They were the winning alliance pick at the Minnesota State Championship and the 3rd alliance captain at the Governor's Cup, boasting a 153 OPR. Their bot is one that makes my head turn, with a unique drop-down intake bar that allows for faster intaking speeds while being able to still keep a small size. Their small drive base and taller bot really allows for them to be able to not be blocked, which is really good for their quick turret that they have to be able to shoot up. Their bar also allows for them to hit the gate perfectly and not have to worry about being slightly too high or slightly too low, because I've seen a lot of teams have issues with that. Gear Wizards does not have anything. And this is something that has really helped them, and I'm excited to see what they will do to help their bot for the World Championship.
For sure. I think it's honestly incredible how fast Gear Wizards has iterated throughout the season. It feels like every other week they just put out a new video with some new feature on their robot or having tested something and then going away from it. And so I'm really excited, as you said, Anthony, to see what they bring to Worlds. Saket, let's go on to number 17.
Up next, take the number 17 slot, we have team 19116 VV Robots from Romania, who is currently 10th in the world with a 169.71 OPR. Their simple yet efficient robot is a powerhouse in the close zone, both in auto and tele-op, as their intake seems to be especially effective at completing the touch it, own it goal many teams have for their intakes. The other thing that stood out to me about their robot was that they seem to be spindexing the artifacts within the robot, but still have a fast rapid fire and intaking process, which is something I think a lot of teams can look into for how to improve a common mechanism into one of the best robots in the season right now. I look forward to seeing if they decide to implement the sorting as a game strategy with a slower sorting auto, or plan to run their high cycle auto, which clearly has worked for them right now. Catch them this weekend at the Romania Southwest League tournament happening, as they play with some of the other most well-known teams in Romania.
Yeah, Saket, what's your take on that slow cycle with the focus on the pattern, the motif versus high cycle, specifically in elims? Obviously, in qualifications, you have the whole ranking point goal, but in elims, do you think we'll just see rapid fire and that's the only thing we're going to see, or do you think the top teams will still be sorting?
I think we're going to be seeing a lot more rapid fire only because just with as far zone partners get better, they're continuously shooting. And I think trying to time your shots to end up with a sorted ramp at the end of auto is quite hard. So I think most close zone teams will just resort to a high cycle auto for elims.
Cool. Yeah, let's see how it pans out. In 16th, we have a team that's no stranger to the T25, 19564 Ictan Solar from Texas. They are still ranked 4th in the world from an insane performance in early January, showing just how dominant they were in the early to mid-season. They competed on January 31st at their league tournament and ended as the Finalist Alliance first pick, which was fine as they already had a ticket to the North Texas Championship. We can see their super fast shooting, rapid driving, and just really large footprint on the field continuing to lead to high scores in the match on the screen. I wonder if they're going to make any changes to the robot for the North Texas Championship. But honestly, I think the biggest focus should just be getting back to the consistency levels that they were at last month, right? Because they were just in a league of their own for a very long time until these later competitions started happening. Yeah, I think with that, we're going to take a short break and we have an ad from our sponsor, Kettering. Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks again to Kettering University for their continued support here on Fun. If you are looking at colleges still, the Kettering University Scholarship is still open, I believe, for another month, and Kettering University is giving up to $5,000 per year for students who are choosing to go to Kettering University. So go ahead, head over to kettering.edu/first. Make sure you check out all their awesome, cool stuff. They have actually a huge robotics center for you to check out in their esports programs. They have some university competition robotics programs as well, too. So a lot of great stuff for you to check out. Once again, at kettering.edu/first.
All right, with that, it's time for our snubs for the February FTC Top 25. So these are teams that did not make our Top 25 and even landed outside the Top 50. However, we've done our research, and each of us wants to recognize and give a reason why these teams should at least be in the Top 50. Anthony, why don't you start?
My snub is a team Abbas mentioned earlier, Team 4410 Arc Lightning from Andover, Massachusetts. With a 138.79 OPR, they're 58th in the world, and we can see their best performance also at the Governor's Cup as the finalist alliance pick from Team 14906 Leviathan Robotics. Their big base allows for them to intake the artifacts easily and funnel them into the top of their robot with ease. We can see their turret pretty much staying locked on consistently with the goal throughout the entire match for most of the matches, and it helps them to be really accurate. The unique feature is their slides on the bot to climb and get 2 full parks, which unfortunately we don't see them being used much, but I'm sure that they will all get it sorted out and the bot will be at the max it can be for the Massachusetts state competition that we referenced March 13th through 15th.
Yeah, I talked to them a little bit about this too, Anthony, because seeing it in there behind the bot and then looking in person, I was really looking forward to seeing it. But I think all it came down to was that it wasn't needed at Governor's Cup. The Governor's Cup was technically a scrimmage, or it was not like a regional championship, so that base threshold was much lower, and so they just didn't need to implement it, and why risk the robot if they didn't have to? So yeah, overall though, just really fantastic matches from them at the championship. Saket, who is your snub?
So my snub for this month was Team 11525 Minerva's Mechanics, the winning alliance captain from the Chesapeake Championship that happened a couple of weeks ago. On the surface, they seem like an average robot that is playing the close zone, but with a deeper dive into their statistics, it's clear that they're a really strong team to watch out for the World Championships, primarily because of their consistency and resiliency across different matches that allowed them to go nearly undefeated the entire season and entirely undefeated at their regional championship. I think there's a lot to learn from the team in their strategy and implementation of their robot, as they were able to handle heavy defense with their turret in the finals and still put up plenty of balls, which is something I've seen many teams have trouble with. I'm interested in seeing what changes they decide to implement for Worlds, and I'm sure they'll have another really consistent robot to compete with.
Yeah, Saket, in your opinion, was that resiliency to defense as a result of some shooting on the move algorithms, or was it just really fast turret actuation with a lot of servos, or maybe even a motor powered turret?
I wasn't entirely sure if they have a shooting while moving algorithm right now, but it looked like their turret was able to compensate extremely quickly, and they weren't even spending that much time to shoot in the first place. So they seem to be able to make all of their shots from the close end even without whatever seemed potentially a shooting while moving algorithm.
Cool. My snub for this month is Team 506 Pandora from Florida. They were ranked top 15 in the world after their league championship a few weeks ago and are currently sitting top 30. From the video on the screen, we can see they have a wide turret robot that is versatile, shooting both near and far throughout the practice match. One thing I've noticed from 506 this season is just how much driver practice they've done. They have just like a ton of videos on their YouTube where they put up like 50 to 60 plus artifacts throughout just teleop, reaching like 70, 75 if you count autonomous. And they're currently ranked as the number 2 team going into Florida States. And so I think a combination of their new counter roller shooter, additional sensors, and just continued drive practice are going to give them a fighting chance for a ticket to Houston. Anthony, as far as shooting both far and close, after our experience at Governor's Cup, do you think we'll see a lot of teams switching between the two, or do you still see this like only one zone match strategy dominating for the rest of the season?
Yeah, this is something that I know we've kind of hit on the fast because it's something we haven't seen as much. But I think as time goes on and everything, I think we're gonna see them starting to kind of do a cycle of they kind of do 2 cycles up close, 2 cycles in the back, and then they kind of rotate around the field so that their predictability isn't as much. But I'm not sure we've seen a region yet where we can see this kind of strategy come out yet. We may see it with maybe the Romania Championship or things like that. But I feel like we may not see that until later just because season needs to still develop and everything like that. But I think we could see some back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what that really reminds me of is like really, really high level gameplay last season where like MTI, you would see, the feeding strategy would come up a lot more. Cycling even then was like really important. So that's what that reminds me of. And I think seeing teams like 506 and others in our T25 like practice that super early season is really strong for worlds and states and competitions like that. Anthony, who's our number 15 pick?
All right, at number 15, we have Team 23521, DeSoto Technics from Olive Branch, Mississippi. With an OPR of 140.17, they're 54th in the world overall. We saw them most recently at the Governor's Cup this past weekend when a boss doing a behind the bot with them, and them being the winning alliance pick from Team 20153 Silver Wolves. Their adaptability and how quickly they can pick up the artifacts really allow them to be a very good team overall. They have a really quick shooter that helps them to get around defense so they don't have to sit in one place as much. And one of the things that really helps them to be as solid as they are is them constantly having their shooter on target, which is really accurate. And we can see throughout the match, they don't really miss much. And yeah, this is really what helped them to win the Governor's Cup overall. And I'm curious to see what they'll change with their Mississippi Championship coming up next weekend. But I'll be really excited to watch them and see how they do.
For sure. Saket, I've talked a bunch about DeSoto Technics already, so why don't you give your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I already watched the behind the bot and I thought it was really cool. And I think the biggest strength that they have is, like Anthony said, is their transfer. It seems like you blink and all 3 balls have already been shot. So I think that makes them, 1, really hard to defend. So I don't think they'll have a problem with that. And 2, I think it just allows them to have a really high throughput and just have super fast cycles, which is something I think a lot of teams are trying to emulate with their split intake and transfer motors.
Yeah, I think like my biggest like message to teams out there is like getting to this level is like always super fantastic, but the biggest thing is just making sure you're consistent, right? And like no matter how strong you are, just like one bad match can really throw it off. So locking in on that consistency like DeSoto Technics is, I'm sure, trying to do for their Mississippi State Championship is going to be really crucial. Saket, let's hear about number 14.
Coming at 14th and out of an undefeated state championship, we have the reigning world champions, Team 11260 Upper Creek from Longmont, Colorado. Their unique blue plastic, aluminum, and polycarbonate robot structure is iconic and once again does not disappoint. They're 16th in the world by OPR. With their sprung down intake, turret with more than 180 degrees of range, and an innovative topspin shooter, they're able to score effectively from the far zone with few bounce outs in the entire match. Whatever they lack in shooting speed, they make up for it in their consistency and accuracy, which is a unique approach to this year's game compared to almost all other top robots that we've seen this year. We cannot wait to see a presumably faster robot with quicker shooting at the World Championships that has an even higher potential, as they seem to have really nailed down the precision, which I think is the harder part in creating a robot this year.
Yeah, I think Upper Creek, is always famous for just having extremely, extremely consistent robots. This one's no exception. I'm also personally interested to see what they do for that end game, because they'll always have some sort of clever approach to it. So I'm really excited to see what they do. And also, Saket, you mentioned they had an undefeated state championship. They've actually had an undefeated season up to this point. So they haven't lost a single match through their first 2 qualifiers and then now state. So that's really exciting going into Worlds. In 13th, we have Team 12808 Revamped Robotics, another familiar name on T25. This season, they've been pushing hard with their Spindexter plus turret plus counter roller shooter robot, and they were just crazy accurate at their league tournament at the end of January. They ended 11th in the world at the time of that tournament and now sit in the top 20. Their biggest strength is definitely how much they've optimized their Spindexter. This gives them complete freedom to sort during autonomous and endgame, as evidenced by them achieving the pattern RP threshold for 4 out of their 5 qualification matches, but also just cycle as fast as possible during teleop, as we see on the screen here. I think the only thing left for this robot is figuring out how to guarantee those base points, but other than that, they just have one of the strongest robots this season. Saket, what stands out to you when you look at Revamped?
I think one thing that I'm really impressed by is their consistency with counter rollers. I know a lot of teams have basically trying to implement counter rollers, but their robot seems to be extremely consistent on exactly where they are shooting in the goal. So even if they're shooting from the close end, it almost always seems like they're shooting the exact same spot every single time. And I think that that's a really big advantage for them as they try to implement more complicated algorithms like shooting while moving.
Sure. Anthony, let's hear about number 12.
At number 12, we have Team 15993, Info One Robotics from Ploiești, Romania. With an OBR of 137.95, they're 66th in the world. They currently have the world record match with Heart of Robot. Their fast drivetrain paired with their extremely quick shooter really helps them to stand out as a top team. Their limelight helps them to aim on the target, and that throughput allows the team to shoot in less than half a second and to do this very accurately. One of the really impressive things is that their intake instantly sucks the artifacts into their robot with no delay, which allows them to hit 99 in teleop with Heart of Robot. I'm really excited to see what they can do for the Romania Championship coming up next month.
Yeah, I mean, I remember from this match, a big deal with the world record was like the full base points. Do you guys see these like full base points happening very often at Romania Nationals, or is it still going to be just like once in a while? Saket, what do you think?
I think we will be seeing a lot more of the full base zone points, because in endgame, the alliances are filling up the ramp really quickly, and then it becomes kind of dangerous to go ahead and open the gate to release those artifacts. So I think we're going to see that, especially for far zone bots, if they run out of artifacts or if the ramp is full, it would be more efficient for them to do a full double park than it would be to continue cycling artifacts. So I think it is going to be a strong strategy to look out for, especially at the Romania National Championships.
Definitely. Let's hear about number 11, Saket.
Next up at the number 11 spot, we have Team 25943 Hive Robotics from Spring, Texas, who recently qualified for Worlds at the Houston Championship this past weekend as the finalist alliance captain. Their simple and efficient robot allows them to intake artifacts from clumps at every angle and consistently shoot them primarily from the close zone, but also from the far zone. What stands out to me about this team is the programming and driver skill that they have been able to achieve because of their simpler design, which is something I think a lot of teams can learn from. This strategy clearly worked for them, as they currently have an OPR of 167.38, placing them 14th in the world. That said, I can't wait to see what their full redesign for faster cycles and mechanisms will include, and I'm sure it'll be something to keep an eye out as teams prepare for Worlds.
For sure. I think I remember Hive releasing a video a couple of weeks ago of like the whole shooting on the move and like how fast their turret was with those 3 servos. So I'm really interested to see, how much further they can take those abilities and if they can have like really good consistency from the far zone with those, as the defense in higher level matches is really going to be pretty heavy in those zones. So keeping it in Texas and starting off our top 10 is Team 30030 Exodus from Austin. They currently have the number 1 auto OPR in the world at 59 points, as they averaged 19 artifacts scored in autonomous per match in early February. they continue to show their autonomous strength by being the first team to score 24 artifacts in auto in the video shown on screen. They'll be competing in 2 weeks at the Central Texas Championship, and I'm really interested to see if they can run this autonomous. I know they've already demonstrated, qualification compatibility where they have their partners start in the front side of the field, like near the goal. So that's not really an issue. They're going all around in the close zone, in the far zone, really fast pickups, all of that stuff. So I think that's okay. We'll just have to see how consistent it can be at their championship. Obviously, the biggest thing to talk about here is that entire side spike mark intake that they do. I think it's really, really powerful, and one of the biggest reasons they're able to do these super fast cycles. Anthony, do you see a lot of teams switching to this type of intake, or are they just going to stick with that really fast back and forth that we've seen throughout the season?
I think we could see a lot of teams doing something like this just because of the fact that they're really able to get them quickly. And also, one of the things that really makes this bot stand out to me is the fact that most teams that get these Hive autos, they have to hold the gate open, which is now not allowed, but they're able to just hit the gate and scoot back and come around and still stay angled and grab those just fine. So I think it's really impressive that they can do this and do it that fast. So I'm actually really excited to see, like you had said, if they're able to run this in a match, into how that'll actually look in with other bots on the field.
For sure. The risk with that like full spike mark intaking is obviously if one bounces, rolls forward, and messes up the entire other two spike marks. So we'll see how teams balance that risk and reward aspect. But Exodus has obviously done a fantastic job. Anthony, let's hear about number 9.
All right. At number 9, we have team 19745 Turtle Walkers from Redmond, Washington. Their OPR of 150.22 makes them 33rd in the world. They were the winning alliance pick at the Washington State Championship. One of the things that really helps their bot be as accurate as they are is their tracking with the turret and their leading. This is something that's really helped them to stay as strong as they are, especially in the defense that Washington is known for. This accuracy from moving side to side and towards and away from the goal allows for them to constantly move and not ever be predictable to other alliances. Pairing this with a quick intake and a fast drivetrain really helps them to get the win into Worlds. I'm excited to see what they have in store for us, whether it be another parking mechanism or just somehow to make their robot just that much faster to be able to score more artifacts.
Absolutely. Yeah, I asked them a bunch of questions in our Behind the Bot with them. So Socket, having seen them play in person, what are your thoughts?
I think they have one of the best team shooting while movings I think I've seen in the entire world. And I think that's a really strong advantage that I think they're going to look to keep moving into the World Championships. And I know that they are going to do a redesign, so I'm also looking forward to what kind of changes they're making to the robot, because it seems like they have really maxed out on this archetype of the robot.
For sure. Yeah, I think the biggest thing with their shooting on the move is the confidence. A lot of teams will have it and they'll use it like here and there, but with Turtle Walkers, it's just like just completely built into how they drive. They don't intend to stop at all while driving, and I think that's how you can see how effective it is. So yeah, let's hear about number 8, Socket.
Up next, in 8th place, we have team 18270 Robo Players from Irving, Texas, who are also one of the only teams who have been on all editions of Top 25 this season. They won their league tournament a few weeks ago with a rebuild featuring a new dual-sided intake while maintaining their extremely fast and consistent cycles they've become known for. I remember watching their V1 behind the bot and was already impressed by the optimizations they had achieved, and it doesn't seem like they've slowed down development at all. For me, what stands out about Robo Players is their consistency across the entire season, as it feels like at every single competition, they're putting up insanely high OPRs, including what is 6th in the world right now. I personally am going to be waiting to watch them compete again this weekend at the North Texas Regional Championship, as they're sure to put on a show.
Absolutely. Yeah, Robo Players is just so fast every single season. I think this year it's a bit interesting. They've gone for a slightly more complex design than they've done in years past, but it could just be a combination of more experience on the team and getting having that technical experience. They want to pursue like more complex solutions that have higher ceilings. So I think they've done a great job of it so far, and I think that double-sided intake is really going to be advantageous in those far zone cycles that they've done all season long. So yeah, our number 7 spot goes to team 19043 Silas from Romania. They're back in DECODE with another impossibly fast robot, this time with a Spindexer design that has to be one of the quickest this season. They competed at the Romania East League tournament last weekend, ending 9th in the world by OPR and 6th by tally-up OPR. In this match, I want to highlight three main things. First is Silas's intake. They've opted to have an open intake, I'll say, where the sides are not blocked by wedges, but rather they have mecanum rollers going on the edges of their robot. This, I think, makes their gate intake much faster, as we see throughout this match. Second is their robot width. There are a few cycles in this match where they're able to squeeze between two robots that are like in and out of the close zone, and they just like continue cycling without stopping. And I think this is really thanks to how skinny the robot is overall and how well they drive that. Finally, of course, I'm obligated to talk about their Spindexer. I think it's just insane. They are firing artifacts from any launch zone as fast as all of the teams with those very, very short direct transfers. And it's just so impressive how consistent they're able to get it. I can't wait to see how consistently they can get those 6 ranking points when they really take advantage of the sorting capabilities. Looking forward to the Romania National Championship. Silas has been one of the best robots at completing the endgame hang each year for the past few seasons, so I'm sure they have something clever in the works for Romanian Nats. Saket, what do you think?
I think that I'm gonna just jump in because I've seen Silas a whole bunch, and I feel like I may take your statement of I think they're one of the fastest Spindexters to they are the fastest Spindexter. I haven't seen anyone faster, and I think it's crazy for us to look and see that it whenever it spins, it completely blurs the camera. You can't see it spinning, so it makes it almost like feel like it's just being fed. It's absolutely insane to see them just go and score.
I think adding on to that, the thing that stood out to me was, like you said, that they have a really thin robot, but they also have a Spindexer. So to me, what I found really interesting was the entire packaging, because generally I would think that with a Spindexer, you have, because you need the 3 balls kind of in a circle arrangement, you'd have to have a lot more space. But they seem to have been able to fit it into a really small form factor, and I think that that's a really cool aspect of their robot, and it's really been useful for them.
Yeah, what I'm interested in seeing is how fast they can sort while spindexing. You know, I think that's like one of the next things that these spindexers need to solve. Obviously, early season the question was, can you do it? Then later was, how fast can you do it when you don't need to sort it? And I think now the question is becoming, how fast can you do it when you do need to sort? So we'll see. I think Silas is definitely going to be on that top tier of teams attempting to solve that problem. Anthony, let's hear about number 6.
At number 6, coming in right before our top 5, we have Team 11329, Ice Robotics from Bloomington, Indiana. With their OPR of 173.09, they're 7th in the world. This is a team that I've been always very fond of, and they've caught my eye with their really good-looking robots, and their creative engineering really helps them to stand out and perform as good as they do. Their quick Spindexter that we can see paired with the Limelight is something that they do very well. Their shooter mechanism is also something I really want to highlight and talk about. Traditionally, most teams that I've seen have a hood, and the entire back of the shooter is solid. Ice does not do that. There's a small, and it pivots on the turning point, allowing for them to aiming rather than a hood angle. This allows for them to be extremely accurate and fast at shooting. The shooter also really helps for them to be able to make sure that they hit the second and third shots. I know some teams have struggled throughout the season with hitting the second and third shots because of the motor power dip after they hit the first one. And Ice has no problem with that at all. And they can really stand out in this spot. This spot on the list is deserved. We can see them compete again March 14th at the Indiana Championship. And I know I'll be watching them to see what else they have up their sleeves, because I'm sure that they will shiver up the state and hopefully events beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. The hood was also super, super interesting to me. Watching it bounce around a lot, I think that might just be a factor of how fast that chain is running there. Saket, what do you think of it?
I think that their entire shooting while moving algorithm is quite interesting, as they've shown it both in auto and in tele-op. But the thing that I wanted to actually highlight on was their intake, and I think that gets overlooked because of how unique their shooter looks. But I think that their intake is actually something to also look out for, as they have a really thin diameter roller, and it seems to be working really well for them. And they also have 3D printed mechanism wheels, which is something I think a lot of teams have opted away from, but Ice has continued to stick with that. So I think that's interesting, and how their intake design is also pretty unique from other teams.
For sure. So before we get into our top 50 shoutouts for the February FTC Top 25, we're going to bring on our producer Tyler for another announcement.
Thanks, Abbas. Hey, yeah, a couple things. We'll start a giveaway in just a second. We're going to give away some fun stickers that are themed to the game. But let's give a big shout out once again to Studica Robotics for their continued support. Teams, if you are going to championships, make sure you do stop by the Studica Robotics booth that will be available. And of course, check out all the cool stuff they have. And if you're looking at upgrading your structure, get ready for the rigors of what championships is. Make sure you consider that T6 aluminum that they're running as well, too. But yeah, stop by their booth if you're going to be at championships. There's some awesome people. You can learn about some of the new products that they might have coming along as well, too. That's once again at Studica.com. And don't forget, if you are in the U.S., you can get up to 25% off and apply for grants as well, too, at Studica.com/robots. Let's go ahead and start a giveaway here in just a moment. So we're going to do a sticker pack that we have. So these are some of our artifact stickers. So if you're interested in winning this, just type in stickers in chat. That's your opportunity to win. And then we'll just ship those right out to you. And this is worldwide shipping available for us as well, too. Type stickers in chat. That's your opportunity to win. And let's go over to our top 50 list, Abbas.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a bunch of fantastic teams in our top 5. But before we get to those, we want to bring up which teams just missed out of the top 25 this month with our 26 through 50 rankings. Each of us have picked one of these teams to give a shout out to. Anthony starts off.
My top 50 shout out is Team 18763 Texpand from Cape Town, South Africa. The reason they were my top 50 shout out was their OPR was 140.71, making them 50th in the world. Also, the main reason is for their shooter mechanism, and we can see that when they go into the shooting zone, their turret locks immediately, and they have pieces that push up and help arc with the ball on the back of their turret, and it's really something that I've seen that's really creative, and it's perfect from scoring from any place. On top of this, whenever they hit the wall, we can see that their intake bar moves up and down, which allows for really quick intaking. This team is something that's going to be doing great things at Worlds.
Absolutely. I think TechSpend is always one of like the top 2, top 3 autonomous teams coming into Worlds each season. So I can't wait to see what they do come April. Saket, who is your top 50 shout out?
For my top 50 shout out, I chose Team 25679, the Cosmobots, from Tomball, Texas, who are also part of the finalist alliance with the previously mentioned Hive Robotics at the Houston Championship. Their robot is exceptional as it has a unique dual-sided intake that is beneficial to their far zone cycles and teleop, a great auto implementation, scoring 27 balls as an alliance, which is one of the highest I think we've seen so far in the season, and sorting capabilities. I think that their robot had some inconsistencies that are tuning out, but has a really high ceiling, as they've proven themselves as the current Texas state record holders, which is why I will definitely be watching them in whatever capstone event they choose to attend in the coming months.
Awesome. My T50 shout out has to be Team 2153 Silver Wolves from Pennsylvania. I saw them this past weekend at the inaugural U.S. Governor's Cup, where they went undefeated 9-0 and ended as the winning alliance captain and the top 2 match score holders. We have a behind the bot coming out with them in the next few days, where we go through all of their subsystems. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Silver Wolves' strength at Gov Cup was definitely their far shooting. This was largely due to computer vision-based aiming for the goal, but also, in my opinion, very strategic intaking. We can see in this cycle, or in these cycles on the screen here, they collect from alternating human player zones basically every cycle. And they also turn their robot to face where they plan to collect from next, demonstrating excellent foresight. Silver Wolves also has a tilt park mechanism that we didn't see much of at Gov Cup just because of those ranking point thresholds being lower. But with the Pennsylvania Championship coming up in a few weeks, I'm hoping we see a lot of action from it soon. Saket, let's get started with the top 5.
Now to start our top 5 teams for this month, we have Team 14720 Quantum Robotics from Bucharest, Romania, currently holding an OPR of 193, which is second in the world. Their entire robot is extremely well optimized, as in the blink of an eye, they intake 3 balls and at the same speed rapid fire them into the goal. The biggest thing I was impressed by in their performance was the consistency of their shots and how they nailed the corner of the goal in almost every single cycle. In other robots, we might see some drift or error within the goal on where their shots land, but for Quantum Robotics, they're always dead on, especially with their turret angle, but also in their short arcs. I believe this is a great indicator that they're going to be able to play well at higher levels where balls may be starved on the field or defense may be present, leading to a larger need for precision. I can't wait to see any hardware and more notably software improvements they come up with for their next competitions, as this robot seems like it has a very high potential just by raw mechanical speed.
Yeah, absolutely. Saket, it looks like Quantum Robotics focused very heavily on the close zone, at least like in this match. We can see on the screen here with teams that have like such fast shooting and really good shooting consistency. Do you think we'll see them kind of transition to that far zone, or are they going to stick here in the close zone?
I think it entirely depends on the level of the other robots at the competition. So if there's other really competitive close zone teams, then I think you will see the better team essentially going to play for the far zone. But I think that it's still entirely possible that the close zone teams will just stick with their close zone capabilities and maybe have far zone partners that even if they're not scoring as many points, maybe they're able to play some defense during elimination matches to limit the score of the opposing alliance.
For sure. Our number 4 team this month is Team 14906 Leviathan Robotics from Oklahoma. They were the finalist alliance captain at the Governor's Cup this past weekend, going undefeated in quals with the highest OPR and highest average match score of the tournament. They ended 8th in the world overall and also by tally-up OPR. We've talked about Leviathan a few times this season on T25, and I think a concern that's frequently raised is their lack of a turret. This was the most competitive event they've been to this season, and that lack of turret was rarely, if at all, an issue. They've just continued to glide around the field, stopping only for a fraction of a second to shoot, as we see on screen here. And I think one thing they do really well is not waiting after shooting. One thing I've seen a lot of like kind of mid to upper level teams do is they'll shoot, sit, and wait to see where the artifacts land after they've shot. But Leviathan is different in that they just immediately leave and start focusing on the next cycle. They don't need to see if those artifacts go in the goal or where they go. They've already punched a ticket to Houston as the Inspire recipient and winning alliance captain at Oklahoma States, so I can't wait to see what they do next. I'm hoping they just add a park mechanism and maybe explore air sort or something, but don't mess with all the great things that they already have as they're such a strong robot at this point. Anthony, do you see them changing a lot or kind of keeping what they have?
So I know some of what they're going to change. I'm obviously not going to say that because not all of that is public, but I will say they're going to keep the no turret because they have seen that this is something that they don't need. They don't need the turret, and this is just how you were talking about the fact that they were just able to go and score and then move. That's from the driver and just how kind of the intuition, the amount of practice he's had is just something that's really helped him to be able to do that. So I will say they're not going to add a turret. They're just going to kind of improve and change a little bit of things but we'll still see pretty much the same Leviathan we see right now.
Cool.
I think
Anthony,
another
let's
thing
kick
that
off our top 3. Oh, go ahead, Saket.
I had one more thing to add about Leviathan. I think one thing that's unique to them, as other non-turret robots I don't think have, is they can actually do shooting while moving, even without a turret. And I found that to be extremely impressive because they're basically able to cover any distance gap while shooting, and then essentially they're able to cut down on their intake time as well. So I look forward to seeing that as well.
For sure. Anthony, let's kick off our top 3.
All right, starting off at top 3 is a team that I really enjoy and love a lot. Team 20265 Heart of Robots from Buzău, Romania. With an OPR of 167.72, they are number 12th in the world. This team and their software is something that I'm always so impressed with. How fast they can auto-lock onto the goal and the speed at which they can shoot from far and hit is insane. Being able to work with them last year when I was still on the team, they were doing some next-level things that was mind-blowing. Their shooter is directly above the intake, allowing them to sort, I believe, based off of how they see the artifacts, just floating right into the shooter. And if they're not sorting, they can just shoot them up quickly. They're insanely consistent. And to top this far shooting robot all off, their 3 to 4 second climb to get the double park is a marvel in and of itself. This team and this robot is one that everybody should be worried about. We will see what Heart of Robots has in store for us March 13th through 15th at the Romanian Nationals.
Yeah, I just can't wait for Romania Nationals. I think, of course, that far shooting is just so impressive, but more so is the hang or is that double park. You know, pulling it off in the world record, in the current world record, and just so many times throughout the competition. I think is really important. We currently have plans to do a behind the bot like in the next week or so. So I'm really excited about that. We'll have a ton of information coming out from them. Saket, let's hear about number 2.
Moving up from 7th last month in the number 2 spot we have Team 23435 Gyrobotics Droids from Westchester, Ohio, with an absolutely insane OPR of 193, which is third in the world as of now. I could easily talk about this team and their robot for half an hour, as their entire vector and custom silicone wheel intake system with an extremely consistent multi-stage transfer and turreted backspin roller shooter is the cleanest robot in the entire season, in my opinion. Our bots had a really informational and in-depth behind the bot with them that I highly recommend viewers to watch for technical details. But if I had to highlight a couple of things that set Gyrobotics droids apart from everyone else, it would be their gate intake and consistent shooting throughout the entirety of the match. Starting with their gate intake, I think that one thing many people overlook is the fluidity of their driving that Gyrobotics droids has achieved, as they're able to simply angle the robot at the gate zone and get out nearly instantly with 3 balls. Secondly, their shooting from anywhere on the field is simply incredible at the level of consistency they have achieved, not only due to their hardware that allows them to shoot balls with little backspin, but also their software, which includes shooting while moving compensation and limelight relocalization. I cannot wait to see how they perform at the upcoming Ohio Championship, and wouldn't be surprised if they beat their own record for OPR then too.
Yeah, I was, after the behind the bot, I just out of personal interest, I watched their matches and counted everything. They did not have a single artifact bounce out in the entire qualifier, in their like Miami qualifier, I think was their last one, in the entire qualifier through qualifications and playoffs. That's just next level. I mean, I think very few, if any, other team can say that for a competition this season, especially considering how many artifacts Gyrobotic Droids launches. I think just adding a hang to this robot or a level 2 park mechanism would really just cap it off, and I don't see what else you'd want to change from Gyrobotic Droids. Anthony, what do you think?
I mean, I think with how fast they're doing, I don't know if they would somehow be able to implement an air sorting mechanism and just being able to kind of adjust the shooting to be able to see if they could do that, just because of how much and how fast they actually shoot. But I think with they just need to kind of improve on what they're doing because they got it down. So it's just going to be really impressive to see what they can do from here.
For sure. I think with that, it's time to talk about our number 1 team for the FTC February Top 25. This just has to go to Team 19066 AI Citizens from Romania. They are literally second to none, other than themselves, currently holding the top 2 OPRs in the world. They're the only team to break the 200-point OPR threshold, averaging 286 points a match at their last competition. They are the number 1 teleop OPR team in the world by an entire cycle over the next team. So AI Citizens is just on another plane. And right now they have a very low to the ground, wide turreted robot that just has one of the fastest transfers this season. More than all of those things, I think their current rank is due to their driving consistency and speed. Going fast for just one match is not too difficult, but going that fast every single match without fail is just so impressive. They never stop on the field and are so good at making a beeline towards the artifacts in either human player zone, the gate, whether they're strewn over the front of the field, whatever have you. They always get them and then just sprint back right to that close launch zone. Their gate intake is also extremely consistent, helping them get those super high scores. I think if any team has the possibility to air sort, it has to be AI Citizens. I hope we see them at it, or at least attempt it for their national championship in 3 weeks, as it would go a long way for qualification ranking. Saket, what else do you see them changing for Romania Nationals?
I honestly see them as kind of guaranteeing themselves as the first pick for the first alliance, just because of their incredibly consistent shooting and speed. The only thing I think that they'd probably be focusing on is trying to get higher autos. Right now, I think they have a 15 or 18 ball, but I think they could easily push that higher given their entire robot with their extremely fast intake and shooting. So I look forward to seeing if they increase their auto cycles or have a different auto configuration for competing with partners.
For sure. Yeah. And, even if you say it's like, oh, just 15 or just 18, the thing is they hit it every single match. I mean, it's just like lights out consistency. And I think that's like really, really strong as compared to teams who have like maybe a 21 artifact auto, but then, they miss one shot and then they lose 3 or 4 artifacts because of those gate cycles. And so I think AI Citizens has just done a really excellent job of maintaining that consistency. Anthony, what do you see them changing?
One of the things I kind of am interested to see how they can do is if they're going to go for some sort of parking mechanism. Their bot already being so wide may not be able to allow for them to go under a robot. So I'm curious if they are going to make something to allow other robots to go under them because of just how wide they are. But overall, I mean, I feel like they're just going to get a bunch of dry practice and just continue to be scoring all that they're doing. But I feel like they're going to keep doing what they're doing because they have that down. So I feel like they're gonna do pretty good at Romania Nationals. So I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, honestly, I think the way to go for a robot like that is to do a tilt park mechanism because of two reasons. First, if you go for that lifting park, you're cutting off your time for shooting at the end of the game, and no one is better in the world. I mean, literally no one is better in the world than AI citizens at teleop cycling, right? So like, why would you give up that cycling ability? And with that tilt park mechanism, I think it's very possible to fit under any other like hung robot or one that's lifted while taking up very little space, even if you yourself have a wide robot. So I think something like that could be very interesting, if not for AI citizens, for any other like really fast robot that we see this season. Yeah, but with that, I think that's been a fantastic top 25 list. Before we head out, we're going to have Tyler draw for our fun merch giveaway. So take it away, Tyler.
Hey, thanks, Abbas. Yeah, once again, it was for a sticker pack, our artifact sticker pack. If you do win, please go to funroboxnetwork.com and click on the giveaway winner link so we can send that out to you. Hey, just one more announcement too. Something that Abbas and I have been talking about, and we've seen some interest, is if we're going to bring back FTC reveal night or not. And we're not sure at this point, but keep an eye out. We're probably going to put out a poll to see how many teams would be interested in participating in that, where you submit a championship reveal video as well too. But we'd probably be looking at like at least a week and a half before championships takes place. So just keep an eye out for that if you're interested. We'd like to hear feedback. If we don't get enough feedback, we probably won't have it. But if we get enough teams to say yes, they're planning on doing it, we'll probably do it then. So the winner of the giveaway is going to be Choi Boy XB5PP. Congratulations to you. Please make sure you go to funroboxnetwork.com/winner in order to claim. And thanks again to everybody for watching the FTC Top 25.
Awesome. Anthony, why don't you start our outro?
Congratulations to all of our teams. Thank you to everyone who hit the subscribe and like button on the stream. Don't forget that if you would like to help support the channel, you can click the join button to become a fun supporter or member and get early access to our content. We hope you enjoyed this episode of FTC Top 25. If you want to stay connected with what Fun FTC is doing, follow us on Instagram and Facebook under Fun FTC, and watch all other Fun FTC content at the Fun Robotics Network on YouTube and TikTok, and join our link through the link in the chat.
That's going to wrap up for the February FTC Top 25 for DECODE. Please keep an eye out for fun correspondence at events. And on behalf of myself, Socket, Anthony, and our producer Tyler working behind the scenes, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Our final FTC Top 25 for DECODE will take place on Wednesday, April 15th, so keep an eye out for announcements. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on future fun videos. True competitors know that every second counts. That's why Kettering University challenges you to dive in right away as a first-year student. Participating in robotics programs helps Kettering students secure a valuable co-op. Whatever your interests, Kettering gives you more space to work faster and win faster. Learn more at kettering.edu/first. Studica Robotics is inspiring teams to build better robots with their new array of FTC team options. Check out their updated bevel gears and Maverick hex shaft motors, Planetary gearbox options, and 6mm hex components and shafts for extreme power transmission. Go to studica.com/robots to learn more and apply for discounts.